Dear colleagues, delegates and volunteers of the member associations of the International Planned Parenthood Federation of Africa, staff of the region, and executive directors. The time to assess the results is upon us, and it is my humble duty, on behalf of my colleagues of the Regional Executive Committee, to report back to you on what we have accomplished. When we took office in 2011, there were 14 member associations in crisis within our region. Today, I'm happy to announce that this number has fallen to 5. The programs that we initiated are more and more creative and attractive and of great interest to our various partners who recognize us very openly. We should perceive the state of reproductive health in our region as a call to greater action and commitment to change the faith of millions of women and youth who are waiting for such organization as the Ippf. We should be the champions and the driving force of the 2020 vision of the Ippf in our respective countries. And last but not the least, my gratitude to the Director General for his able leadership and the support of his staff at the Central Office for their continued support and commitment to the African cause. Dear colleagues, let us have a great time and a great meeting. Thank you very much.
Heureux aussi de participer entre amis, participer à vos réunions qui couronnent les efforts d'une période passée en vue de préparer le prochain stade avec le nouveau cadre stratégique déjà tracé par les grands volontaires et cadres de l'Ippf. Notre organisation est forte. Par nous tous et nos volontaires partout dans le monde. Nous formons une grande famille et nous lient les valeurs de notre grand organisme à qui nous appartenons.
We have gone a long way, but there are still contentious issues. And these are sexual rights, abortion, and interestingly, in a very subtle way, about women and gender. We have to be bold because they start to something, they move on into something else. It's not because there are reckless drivers, you say no more driving. You give a driving license, but you have to pass a test. That is the essence of democracy, which we have to fight for. But there is one thing. If there is no problem, I think there is no need to leave. But at the end of the road, there is always hope. The day we don't have a dream, each one of us will have no reason to wake up the next morning. But don't dream of nightmares, but opportunities and the potential of this region to position ourselves. Challenges should not be a discouraging factor, but an energizing to do better and more. Because the next generation, which is there today with us, expects a heritage which we have had the privilege of having from those 8 brave and angry women.
The Africa region has come a long way and has made significant strides in addressing the high unmet needs in sub-Saharan Africa. I would like to commend Africa region for this impressive performance and encourage you to forge ahead with this effort and confidence, as our services are still needed as much as they were more than 60 years ago. My dear colleagues and volunteers and member associations, let us carry out advocacy efforts and mobilize resources for our federation.
In a difficult context mentioned so far by Advocate Breno, Theodros Melese, and Dr. Naomi. You know, implementing such activities in the context of conflict, crisis, humanitarian crisis is not easy. but we try as a region to achieve some of our expected benchmark.
Leadership development. IPPF have been in the process of developing the volunteers and staff at the same time. I want us to go extra mile at community level.
Need to mobilize resources that specifically focus on youth and young people in order for them to carry their agenda forward.
It is regrettable that the member association of Rwanda has been suspended, but we hope they will come back.
I think when we are talking about resources and so, IPPF is not just, gets money and then just on a lottery basis or on a certain just performance basis. We cannot just give out money like that. Because it's not our money. There are criteria which are set by any donor. And what is the donors in general they say to the most needy.
Monsieur le Président, voici ainsi présenté le rapport du 10e Forum des jeunes qui s'est tenu ici à Nairobi. Et je veux maintenant inviter tous les jeunes qui sont dans la salle de participer à ce forum à se lever, que toute l'Assemblée puisse les voir. Les jeunes, s'il vous plaît, levez-vous.
If we look at our total population, we know that the youth are majority, and then in helping them to create awareness to make the right decisions.
On this stand, we've got materials that we use on our daily activities implementation on issues to do with sexual rights, advocacy, and gender.
And we have a variety of condoms here. We have a female condom, and we have the cool condom, which is very much loved by young people because it's cool.
The point is, all what you're complaining about is total nonsense.
I told you so. What you're calling your conjugal rights can be dealt with in another way.
In what way?
Contraceptives, but the game you'll still play. You'll play and enjoy.
And what does that mean?
I mean, many children are abandoned. No proper education, poor economy, unemployment, name them.
Anyway, what you're saying is true. I decide to promote SRH information for youth and the minority.
And I decide to promote safe abortion.
And I decide to stop sexual and gender-based violence. I decide to use condoms.
I decide to promote family planning and safe motherhood.
FHOK, Nairobi Youth Center.
Thank you.
The IPPF Regional Council thematic discussion brings together volunteers, member associations, youth representatives, and partners. Through this forum, we aim to share knowledge that highlight key actions that our network of members take to promote sexual and reproductive health and rights in the region. We need to eliminate discrimination between men and women. We need to increase access to contraceptives to women across the continent. We need to give youth access to sexual and reproductive health information and services. We need to create an enabling environment for the empowerment of women and girls. Now is the time to act. Our message as IPPF is simple. People should have the right to decide who they live with, what happens to their bodies, if and when and how many children to have. In short, we each should have the right to determine our future.
For over 40 years, IPPF has been a leading sexual and reproductive health advocacy voice in sub-Saharan Africa. In the African region, IPPF led advocacy for the creation of the first continental framework for sexual and reproductive health, the Maputo Plan of Action. In June 2014, the Common African Position was launched at the African Union. This marks a great advocacy win because African leaders are speaking in one voice.
Coming from a very pastoralist background myself, and talking about gender, it feels like a bit of a contradiction. But it is that contradiction that actually made me commit myself, not just on issues of gender, but on issues of affirmative action and the issues of marginalized groups and minorities in the Republic of Kenya and elsewhere. And for us to do so, we need to understand a bit where we have come from. If you look at gender in the current development agenda, since the promulgation of the Millennium Declaration in the year 2000, we have got 3 out of 8 of the goals that give 3 important dimensions of gender equality. That is gender parity in schooling, share of women in an agricultural wage earning jobs, and the proportion of seats in national parliament. And finally, I want to leave you with a quote from a true son of Africa, the former US Secretary General Kofi Annan. There is no tool for development more effective than the empowerment of women. Thank you.
Perhaps one of the reasons why we have lagged so much behind in the achievement of the Millennium Development Goals is because of the nature of their formulation. And we do understand that a group of experts just decided that we're going to have about 8 MDGs, and this did not give a chance to the intergovernmental process.
Well, the difficulty here is that we make those decisions without taking into consideration, or sometimes we may not be able to take into consideration the realities prevailing within the member states. You develop a charter. For that charter to go through a parliament like that of Kenya, you have to go through the House of Parliament, you have to go through the parliamentarians, the legal structure, and you find out that process sometimes takes so long that in most cases, in most of African countries, by the time the process matures, either there's a new government or something else happening.
In all of these situations, in all of countries in fact, women and girls are violently attacked, sexually assaulted, and often killed, and their fundamental human rights violated. Ippf must increase its response to this dangerous situation, and it's disgraceful. We need to work in partnership with other civil society actors and like-minded governments to address this issue. Within Ippf, some of our member associations are beginning to develop model of actions, and these we need to move forward.
One question that kept coming up is around lack of implementation of policies, that a lot of our countries have the policies, but we do not see the implementation. And I think that goes back to what we know, that there are gender inequalities about social attitudes around women and power. And it's also around what religion says. Religion and other institutions are part of that perpetuate disempowerment, what the Honorable Ippf was talking about, the cycle of disempowerment.
Women in decision making. Rwanda has been mentioned here quite a number of times. Good number of African countries are doing very well. The number of women, numbers of women in parliament is increasing. Now, why am I taking time to talk about this? This is because the women understand. So put them there, they'll come up with the right solutions. It's the same thing like I always talk about you. We make a lot of noise about you. Let's ask them.
Ippf on my behalf is really proud to open again and again this discussion, especially at the early stage where the Federation has already adopted its new gender policy. Let us start by ourselves first. At the domestic level, what is our behavior vis-à-vis the issue of gender? How do we treat our women at home?
An empowered woman results in better health choices. Gender mainstreaming is the key to unfinished agenda of MDG 5. We should make it part of our programming and push it in post-2015 agenda. I thank you all for meaningful participation in this session. Merci beaucoup. Obrigado. Thank you so much.
A little bit from what the donors have said. I think that the useful thing from hearing from the donors is that they're not part of the Federation. We work in partnership with them, but they're not part of the Federation. So it's a useful outside perspective to have. So we asked them what do they think will be the key things within the external environment that we need to be conscious of. So obviously the top item, as you would have imagined, was responding to the post-2015 development agenda and ensuring that SRHR was very much a priority within that. And that very much captures a lot of the conversations we had yesterday. And also, a bit more on the positive side, that they are seeing integration of health programs. So they feel that there's now less siloing amongst governments and donors.
There have been a lot of requests from the floor in terms of training and capacity building of volunteers. But don't just think of capacity building and training in terms of governance. There is a lot more volunteers are doing in the field, which we don't always capture. International studies of the work of volunteers have led to a better understanding of the area of volunteerism, which has increased the public awareness of the values that volunteers bring to specific countries, sectors, but also organizations.
As ASEMA enters this SATA 5th birthday, we are happy to note that the association is undergoing significant transformation in thinking, actions, and aspirations.
L'attache vient de conseiller à l'application de la gouvernance qui va faire une présentation sur la procédure des élections. J'espère que la traduction est bonne, aussi bien pour la portugaise que pour les anglophones, la francophone. Merci.
I will be presenting the election procedures that will be guiding our election which we are going to conduct. Election shall be held as soon as possible, provided that at least 24 hours shall elapse between the presentation of the nominations to the council and the body. And this is already done as indicated yesterday. So, totally, we will be having from full member association 60 votes, from associate members 4 votes, 64. However, Guinea-Bissau has not shown up, so we'll have 63 votes. The order of the elections will be as follows. First, we will go into the election of the regional chairperson, regional treasurer, youth representatives, is just to formally endorse. Other Ippf Exco members, there will be 5 members to be elected, and the 4th representative to the governing council, and the last but not least, the representative to the Ippf audit committee. Thank you very much.
Donc, le regional chair, President will have we received only one nomination, and it was Advocate bringing Ippf from Ghana. According to our position, when there is one candidate, even if it's one vote, is elected.
My sincere thanks to those who nominated me, and for those of you who have put from a colleague of mine who was silent, my deepest appreciation. Thank you very much.
Mr. Advocate Ippf is elected as the regional chairperson of Ippf Africa region. We move to the second honorary officer. This is the treasurer, regional treasurer. As I told you, there were two nominations. The Emir of Cameroon, Botswana, Ghana, nominated Dr. Naomi Seboni.
Let me take this opportunity to thank those emirs that nominated me. I thank them very much because they've given me the opportunity to go back to London so that I can contest the presidency again, because I'm allowed to do 2 terms. Thank you very much.
Dr. Naomi Seboni is elected as the regional treasurer of Ippf Africa region. Congratulations. During the forum, the meeting, the young people elected 2 representatives. So automatically, these people are elected. So it's for endorsement. That's all. So congratulations. I would like to invite you now to elect the other 5 members.
Je suis actuellement attaché de presse au ministère des Affaires étrangères du monde. Je suis Jean-Françoise des compagnies Micro.
Je suis député de l'Assemblée nationale pour Mozambique.
Je suis Awolowo du Niger.
I'm a member of the National Health Policy Advisory Committee in Uganda.
Je suis la présidente nationale et la représentante légale de la Ippf Burundi.
My name is Peter Mbonge from Nigeria.
We'll be counting the number of votes. 1, 2, 63.
We have 3 for the associate member, and there are 60 for the full members, so we can proceed now.
Robina, Gilfrey, Peter, Sidoni,
Jacques from Congo, Lucas from Mozambique, Saïd from Comoros, Amadou from Niger, and Pepe from Let us start from This is what I can say, so we can congratulate ourselves on the whole.
A vote of thanks to the government and the people of Kenya, acknowledging the continued support of the government and people of Kenya towards Ippf Africa region.
May I take this opportunity to invite all the outgoing EXCO members to come to the front so that we can recognize those who have provided guidance and leadership over the last few years in steering the work of Ippf Africa region. Madam Mara,
Sierra Leone.
What I really want to say is thank you. It's always a great pleasure to be with you. We have seen the progress which has been made and we have set the agenda. I would like to also thank the museum and the regional staff and all volunteers and staff. I wish you a very safe travel and all the best. So we'll be meeting again and thank you.
It is a great honor for us as volunteers to contribute at huge to materialize the goals, the purpose, the mission and vision of Ippf.
You could also say that, getting a memorandum of understanding with the Organization of the First Ladies of Africa, the establishment of the liaison office at the AU in Addis Ababa, and the fact that I think through our contribution we're able to have the first African female president of IPPF. These are some of the achievements I can talk about.
The main request for IPPF is that sexual reproductive health and rights should be considered and included as one of the priority areas for the post-2015 development framework.